You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, Doge, and more. Cryptocurrencies and digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity, provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week, we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments throughout the world's leading crypto derivatives markets. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of crypto derivatives. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
All right, everybody. That music means it is time once again to dive into the ever-volatile, ever-bloody waters of crypto. Yes, it is time once again for the Crypto Rundown. Whether you're, crypto native, maybe you're kind of new, maybe you're a skeptic like our buddy Uncle Mike. Either way, we're going to have a fun time here on the show today. My name, of course, is Mark Longo from the optionsinsider.com, as well as from the network upon which all of you folks are binging and mainlining. Congratulations to our pro winner, Mr. Joe Lewis, winner of the February Pro Trading Crate. Just a wild time out there on the pro. Already closing some trades out from oddities on Friday. If you want to get a piece of that action, and trust me, you do, it's a good time over there. Head on over to the pro, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more as we learn who's joining us on the old Crypto Rundown this week. I'm pleased to welcome back on our old pal, even though he hasn't been on in a while, since pretty much January 6th of this year. Can that even be possible? Has it been that long since we've chatted on the Crypto Rundown with our old pal, Mr. Bill? Well, you know what? If that is the case, let's rectify that now. Mr. Bill, welcome back to the Crypto Rundown, sir. It has been too long.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back, Mark. This is great.
What did you do to offend our producer? You haven't been on since January 6th, sir. I don't know. I'll have to patch things up between you two.
I will send a gift.
As we keep on rolling right on into the Bitcoin Breakdown.
It's time to explore the latest trending activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, listeners, we got a lot of wild action going on in the world of crypto. We'll get to all the madness in a second, Mr. Bill, and spoiler alert, there's a lot of it. But really quickly, you haven't joined us since pretty much the beginning of the year. We've seen a wild run in crypto just since your last appearance. We saw a continued rally into the beginning of the year, kind of the post-election surge that was just gobbling up all the crypto oxygen. Then the equally aggressive crypto sell-off that has consumed much of the markets, including big names like ETH and others since pretty much the beginning of the year. ETH off over 30% now year to date and things. So it's been a wild run. Solana giving up over 100 handles. So we'll start there, Mr. Bill. We'll get to the big news from the weekend in a second. But first, what's been going through your mind so far this year as we've seen crypto pretty much across the board, including the big dog Bitcoin, giving up a lot of the gains from the end of last year, sir?
You know, it just reminds me, Mark, of when we were on the trading floor and we had to buy the rumor and sell the news. And I think that these cryptocurrencies just completely took off after the, after the election, around the inauguration. Trump clearly was a pro-crypto candidate. Tons of money being sent and contributed, by PACs to win elections. And I think, we're just pulling back from the hangover of that incredible rally that we had, I would say from, October-ish until early February would be my call, maybe middle of February.
Yeah, a little buy the rumor, sell the fact out there. I think we're literally having that happen right now, Mr. Bill. So let's not bury the lead any further, listeners. Just a wild weekend and indeed a wild week in the crypto world. When we last got together on the show last Monday, listeners, Bitcoin was hanging out at 94,515. So within spitting distance of that level, a lot of people like to pay attention to, which is, of course, that 100K level. And we started selling off a bit again. And then we got the news over the weekend. Trump hinted at this in the lead up to the big election, that they were going to have a Bitcoin reserve and a strategic crypto reserve in general. We debated that on the show and on the network. Do we really need a strategic crypto reserve? Nonetheless, the crypto market loved it. The crypto market ate it up. But as Mr. Bill was saying, a little bit of the old buy the rumor, sell the fact. We got a little bit more of the facts over the weekend. And it does seem like the crypto market first over the weekend. Again, this is another thing. People who are out there agitating for 24/7 stock and option trading. Just witness the crypto market. You got a lot going on over the weekends that could maybe keep you up at night or maybe be a great thing for you. It depends. But you got to be willing to live that life if you go 24/7. Listeners, well, we got the news over the weekend, a little bit more detail, a little bit more information on this much ballyhooed strategic crypto reserve. Everyone knew it was going to be Bitcoin and it was going to be ETH, but they expanded it to include some other assets out there that were maybe a little bit more surprising to folks. Also going to have XRP, going to have Solana, and good old Cardano over there, along with Bitcoin and ETH. And, this immediately sent the markets into just a frenzy of optimism. Bitcoin went pretty much soaring back after being down quite a bit. Seemed like it was going to be a very down week. Bitcoin went pretty much soaring back up almost to exactly the level it was on our show last week, right around 94.5, within spitting distance of 100K again. And then as soon as the rally kicked in, it seemed like a lot of that optimism started to fade. There was talk about initially filling it with Bitcoin that had been seized from raids in places like the Silk Road and others. And all these details started to seem like to take some of the shine off of that rally. And as we're coming into the show right now, Bitcoin pretty much right back down, back to just a tick north of 87K as we were kicking off the show. Puts us down almost 7,500 handles, about 7,456 from where we were on the show last week. So a lot to unpack. Bill, we'll get to all the altcoin fun in a second, but let's just start with the big dog. Everyone was excited about the prospect. Well, I wouldn't say everyone. We were a little skeptical here on the network, but people in the crypto space were pretty excited about the prospects for a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I don't think you and I have really chatted about this in a while either. So let's start there. Where do you fall on the notion of a strategic Bitcoin reserve? Do you think we need one in the country? And then B, What are your thoughts on what we saw and the market's reaction, sir? Wild 48 hours.
Well, what are my feelings on the Bitcoin strategic reserve? I think it's awesome, Mark. I really do. I believe that Bitcoin and select cryptocurrencies going forward will be a part of Trump's desire and strategy to quote unquote recapitalize the United States. And by that, I mean there is a lot of stuff going on with the London gold market, the LDMA, with COMEX going on. We have really interesting conversations about XRP. This is what I think is going on, okay? And I these are not my own original ideas, but it makes sense to me from a guy that I follow on Twitter named Tom Longo. And I like his thought process because
that name already, I'm already instantly dubious of him. So
I knew you'd love it.
Trust those Longos with the 10-foot poles.
Slightly different spelling, but I knew that you'd be okay with this paisan coming on board, and maybe you should have him on someday. But basically, this is his thought. You know, when you and I were, when I was still a market maker on the trading floor and up off the floor during the great financial crisis, we had a real tough time setting option theoretical values because we didn't know if we should use Eurodollar rates, LIBOR rates, or the rates from like Goldman Sachs and our clearing firm. Impossible to set a curve during that time period. A few years later, we found out that LIBOR was being manipulated by the city of London. Okay, step one. We now no longer use LIBOR. We use the SOFR rate, which is the secured overnight funding rate. So we've stripped and taken power away from the city of London, from LIBOR moving to SOFR. Number two, the LDMA, which is the London gold market, it's completely dead. They can't even deliver any gold for at least 90 days plus. It's all coming back to America in the COMEX. City of London loses, COMEX, the United States wins. Third, the next huge profit center of the City of London is the foreign currency exchange rate. That's going to be replaced by XRP, which Trump wants to put into the strategic reserve. And we're seeing that this is a way of undermining the notoriously, quote unquote, evil empire of the City of London. They're going to lose their FX business because it's all going to be part of a US-based business using XRP and other tokens. The fourth leg, I haven't figured out yet, and neither has Tom. I'm all in with the strategic reserve. I think we're going to recapitalize gold. We're going to recapitalize our nation's sovereign wealth fund with Bitcoin. I think we're going to be doing really cool home equity loans and exchanges for U.S. treasuries. I think there's going to be a gold-backed U.S. treasury in 2026 as part of our celebration of our anniversary of our nation. So I think there's a big, big picture here that we need to go back in time and then look a little bit out forward, and we're going to see amazing things in terms of remonetizing and recapitalizing the nation's wealth with this sovereign wealth fund and the Bitcoin strategic reserve.
Well, Bill, we just launched a question of the week around this because it seems like our audience at the end of the day, they're the ultimate arbiters of all things. We're asking them, Bill, very simply, do we need a strategic crypto reserve? Heck yes or hell no. We'll check back in with this throughout the show, Mr. Bill, to see what our audience has to say. But let's get down to some of the action out there. Oh, and what were your thoughts, Bill, as well, on kind of the, as you mentioned at the top of the show, the whole buy the rumor, sell the fact. They're selling that fact pretty hard right now on the actual details, what little we have of this strategic crypto reserve so far, Mr. Bill. Are you lukewarm on what they're presenting?
Well, I think that's part of it, Mark, but I also think that, we saw a spike in interest rates, 12, 14, 18 weeks ago. And I think that we just saw global liquidity dry up a little bit. And I think we're going to trade a little bit choppy over the next few weeks. But in terms of the way global liquidity leads the price of Bitcoin, we are in store for as Raul Powell says, we're ready for the banana zone. Like this is also like December interest rates are like below 4%. I mean, we went from like 4.5, 4.7 in the 10-year. These rates, the Fed funds, I think are like 3.8 or something, 3.7. So money's getting cheaper. Inflation's coming in at under 2%. If you go to trueflation versus the government statistics, I think Powell's going to start lowering interest rates because I don't think he sees inflation as a threat much anymore. And I think the global liquidity is coming on in a fire hose, and that's going to spur and project Bitcoin up to the 175, 275 by September, October of 2025.
I got bad news for you, Mr. Bill. In the early voting, 80% of our audience is saying, hell no, we don't need a strategic crypto reserve.
They must be gold bugs.
Yeah, exactly. Only 20% saying yes, but that's just the first opening couple of minutes, the opening salvo, listeners. We'll keep checking in throughout the show. As we check in with some of the vol, man, it's been a wild week on the Bitcoin vol front. Remember, you can track all this for yourselves. Just check in with our friends over there at Amber Data. We had Greg on the show last week. He always dives deep into what they have available. And in fact, you have no excuse anymore. That GUI is now free. So you can see a lot of this data we're talking about here completely for free over there at amberdata.io. And if you did that, you would see we're looking a lot spicier on the weekly vol front than we were a week ago. Go figure. A little bit popping off there. We were at 42.25 on the show last week. Exactly 20 points higher on the 7-day vol coming into the start of the show right now, about 62.25. I'm sure if I re-racked that right now, we'd be all over the place again. Vol's moving that quickly, listeners. A 30-day vol also looking spicier, 44.60 on the show last week, 54.60 coming in to start the show today, so exactly 10 points higher there. And going out a whopping 6 months where the hodlers live, 54.40 on the show last week, 55.25 this week. So up ever so slightly out there on the 6-month vol as well. Getting to Skew land, it's been a wild... Let's go pull it up right now just to see the depths of it. Because we have the net movement out there on the Skew front. But of course, things have been a little wilder in between our episodes, listeners. And again, right now, the weekly Skew on the show last week was looking kind of bearish, negative 2 3/4. Coming in to start the show today, negative 1 1/4. So it's actually kind of settled out a little bit, anywhere around 1 point in either direction, I would consider mostly flat. Let's look really quickly here on the Skew front. How wild did we get Monday? Let's see. Over the weekend, we got up to, we were looking pretty negative, -6 heading into, on the weekly Skew front, heading into Sunday. And then we rallied hard off the news, got up to actually positive about 1 1/3. So that's 7 1/3 handle move out there in the Skew. Then they kind of gave it all back down to about -3 early in the morning today, then back up to about +2. So we've had a lot of wild Skew swings. Again, the weekly Skew is where you're going to see that reflected the most. On the monthly Skew, we were down as low as about almost -1 on Sunday morning, listeners. Then we rallied up to about a +3 on the news later on Sunday, and then back down to about flat again on early Monday morning, and then back up today to about a +2. And where we're hanging out right now on the monthly Skew, as we kicked off the show, we were about a +0.5, so flat on the show a week ago. Right now, +0.2, so about as flat as you could be. Remember, that's a moving target after all, so you're never really going to have it 0.0. So 0.2 is about as close to flat as you can be. So all this noise we're seeing from the strategic reserve getting shaken out, at least for right now. Going out 6 months, we were +3 1/3 on the show. Last week, 385. Today, up about 0.5 point. So a little bit more bullish out there. Mr. Bill, anything catching your eye from an overall Bitcoin vol or Skew perspective right now, sir?
Not really, Mark. I mean, honestly, I don't, I'm not focused so much on the option side. It's like a pendulum. There are times where I'm selling, option volatility, either in MSTR or in IBIT. Then there's times where I'm just buying the outright spot ETF. So honestly, I've been focusing just more on relationships between gold and Bitcoin, and these high yield covered call writing strategies, and then with the weekly, monthly premium buying spot ETF in this kind of pseudo sailor inspired strategy. So, when I think that options are appropriate for a few of our client accounts, we're definitely selling downside cash secured puts. But right now, there's just nothing really slapping me in the face in terms of a super juicy trade that I'm just loving to put on for clients.
And how has that trade been going? Like your synthetic sailor trade in light of this recent volatility we're seeing, Mr. Bill. Any sweating at all, or was it a fun 48 hours?
Oh no, we're definitely. Hey, this is option traders live for this stuff. What are you talking about? Yeah, we're definitely seeing portfolio volatility. No doubt about it. But again, this was the one strategy that we started at the end of last year, and in December of 2024. We are outperforming spot Bitcoin, which is exciting. But let me tell you, these ETFs and what's going on is just insane option premiums that are being sold by these covered call ETFs. So I'm optimistic. I'm still, positive with, MicroStrategy's Coinbase, the YBIT, which is the Bitcoin covered call ETF by YieldMax. And so, yeah, I mean, listen, I'm trying to carve a space in the Bitcoin blockchain, industry, right? Because, you and I have been talking about this for years. And again, my goal is to bridge that gap between traditional investing and digital assets. And I'm doing it in the way that's appropriate for a separate account manager. And so, until the Solana ETF comes out, until the XRP ETF comes out, all these things, I'm just kind of picking my battles, picking my spots, and doing things that I think are fun and creative. And at the same time, my clients they're able to get a decent night's sleep without having to check their Coinbase account every 45 minutes.
They can sleep because Mr. Bill is up doing it for you.
Yes.
Out there. So let Bill not sleep. You could sleep, listeners.
For sure.
But yeah, it's been wild times out here in IBIT, listeners. 49 even as we kicked off the show. Down almost $5, about $4.60 from where it was on the last show. If you're wondering what kind of wild range we had, it opened up right around $53. So it's down $4 just today. Again, just showing kind of the madness that's been going on out there in the crypto realm over the weekend. Also kind of shows you the challenge of trading the listed products against the spot that's trading 24/7 over there. You're going to have some wild ranges open to close over the weekend there, like we saw this weekend. The ADV, 426,000, that's up 20,000 already. And blowing the doors off that already today, 621,000 contracts on the tape. By the way, 30-day vol out there in IBIT exploding up to about a 54, up 8 points from where it was this time last week. And if you're wondering, what is the hot trade out there in IBIT today? It's 25,000 of the 49 puts expiring this week. Somebody had a good do this morning, Mr. Bill, when IBIT was about $52. They said, you know what? How are those 49 puts expiring this Friday? They got 37 at 39, so a pretty tight market. They said, I'll pay 40 cents. I'll pay through your offer for 8,000 of those bad boys. Those are looking pretty good right now. IBIT selling off over $3 from there. So those puts are now, where are we? Last looked, about $1.35. So yeah, they have done pretty well, about 3x on those bad boys. So hopefully for their sake, they've already gotten the heck out of Dodge, because you get a good move like that in a weekly option, you got to at least take some while the getting is good. So that is your big dog out there. Number two, we have about 14,000 of the 54 half calls also expiring this week. Those obviously seem like maybe a little bit more of a bridge too far, but we got some time out there. Let's look really quickly to see what those went up for. Those went up for 36 cents. Let's see, is that around the... They went up pretty close and similar size to the 40 puts. The 40 puts traded at 9.39. These traded about 18 minutes later, 76.60. So it is possible somebody bought that strangle, the 54 half 49 strangle expiring this Friday for 76 cents. In which case they're wearing it on the calls, obviously, but crushing it on these puts. So they're probably not that mad at the end of the day. Mr. Bill, is that kind of stuff give you cold sweats getting that close to the fire? Just actually buying premium a week to go in IBIT? Because it seems like it worked out for this person.
No, premium has to be sold like insurance products. No, premium has to be sold. I mean, listen, anybody who is a Bitcoin maximalist, anybody who wants to, listen, we have so many things going in our favor. And yes, we don't have the proof yet. But again, we had the Bitcoin halving last year. We got all the ETFs coming on board. Bitcoin strategic reserve. I mean, just fundamentally, we have so many things going for Bitcoin. And so, no, I think that and listen, being on the trading floor, I was always a long premium trader. But now as an investment advisor, I see the beauty more of being a premium collector. And you know what? I'll sell the puts. I'll sell premium, weeklies, and just what if I get assigned? okay, so be it. Because I know where the long-term direction's going up. And so I have confidence in that, even though the short-term, technicals might be negative.
Yeah, I've been lured literally to the dark side, sir, of selling the premium out there. Interesting stuff. Let's check in on our old pal Bitto as well. Then we'll get out to some altcoin universe. A lot of action going on out there as well. Bitto at about a 1910, continuing to sell off. It's at about a 1940 when we kicked off the show. So giving up another 30 cents during the show here. That's down nearly $3, about 280 from the show last week. By the way, if you're wondering, we opened this morning at about $20.80 in Bitto, so giving up $1.70 just today. Bitto is going ex-div today as well, just something to bear in mind. So yet another juicy dividend out there. If you're playing that game, 72 cents this month. So yeah, Bitto giving up the ghost, but giving you some juice on the way down. The ADV down to 49,000, down another 3,000, but beating that today. 55,000 contracts on the tape. It's like the big dog today, again expiring this Friday. People love the weeklies out here. It's the 21 half calls, trading about almost 3,000 times, 2,600 times. It's like a lot of them for between 20 to 32 cents. A lot 32-cent kind paper was buying those. So loading up on some upside. Doesn't seem like we're going to get there right now. But again, the week is young and the show keeps on rolling along right on into the altcoin universe.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the altcoin universe.
All right, everybody, welcome to the altcoin universe, the portion of the show where we break down everything going on outside of the big dog, which is Bitcoin, except for right now. Quick check-in on our poll, Mr. Bill, and seems like things are starting to even out right now. A few more minutes into our poll. This will run the rest of the week, so it'll be live for you folks on the podcast. And Mr. Bill, it was 80% in the early offing saying hell no. Now we're down to 54.5% saying hell no and 45.5% saying heck yes. So does that put a smile on your face, Mr. Bill? Our audience more evenly split now?
It does. No, it's great. It's great. I love the people, coming in and voting. I mean, listen, it's the crypto rundown. I would have expect to see more pro crypto conversation going on and more hands being raised and voting that way for sure.
It is the crypto rundown, but at the end of the day, the network is options biased first and foremost, right? So we still have some folks who are, let's say, like you, waiting to be lured to the dark side, Mr. Bill, out there. As we see what's going on the dark side here in crypto right now. Obviously, that rising tide that lifted all boats, looking a little bit lower this week. It cost you $21.25 billion to break into the top 10 last week. That got you to Tron. This week, it's about $20 billion, pretty much even, and about to break that in the wrong direction. So giving up about $1.25 billion to break into the top 10. That still gets you to Tron, though. Tron number 10. Number 9, our old pal Doge. It was number 8 last week. Coming down now. It's about $30.6 billion worth of market cap versus $33.3 billion last week. So coming in at number 9. Number 8, Cardano, $31.7 billion. Number 7, USD Coin, $56.3 billion. Number 6, it's good old Solana, $75.4 billion. Number 5, BNB, $82.8 billion. Number 4, it's Tether, $142.3. If that sounds topsy-turvy, it's because it is. It's because XRP and Tether have now switched. XRP not really moving that much, but Tether giving up a little bit of the juice. And it's very neck and neck. We're talking 142.3 for Tether, 142.47 for XRP. So just managing to eke it out. Number 2, you know what it is. It's ETH 263.1, and the big dog, Bitcoin, 1.73 trillion worth of market cap. Mr. Bill, it seemed like the notion of including some altcoin in our strategic reserve, in particular maybe XRP and Cardano, and maybe to a degree Solana as well, seemed to rattle some folks, seem to be part of the reason that we're selling off right now. What were your thoughts on expanding the strategic reserve beyond just Bitcoin and ETH to include some other altcoins, sir?
I think it's a great idea, Mark. I mean, my crypto Twitter completely lit up on that news, and the Bitcoin maximalists were incredibly upset, and the other people that were the XRP army, they were happy, and other tokens were applauded in the news. But honestly, listen, when I was in high school, I worked at a gas station, and all we did was argue about Was it a Mustang, Camaro, Chevelle, or a Charger / Challenger? Like, which was the greatest muscle car? And all we did was just argue 24/7, 365. And the truth is, each one had their own use case. Each one had their own style and design and flavor. And it's all good. It's all okay. I applaud what Donald Trump is trying to do. We're moving into a more digital world rather than an analog world. And we're, XRP, Stellar Lumens, XLM, XDC network, Hedera Hashgraph, all these ones that are ISO 222 compliant, they're all going to be they're all going to be compatible with each other, right? That's what ISO 222 means, like ISO 9000, like a 9mm socket or a 9/16 wrench or something that fits in one car and is the same standardized measurement as for another car. That's what this is all about. And so we've pretty much already replaced the SWIFT system, I mean, all things considering. And the United States is going to be the global hub of foreign currency transactions globally. And it's going to be part of the Ripple, RLUSD. Ripple's a huge part of this. And I think it's awesome as long as these assets stay inside a strategic wealth fund, and not used for counter surveillance. And this is my libertarian mind going on. Like, as long as we're not using it to surveil our own citizens and busboys and waitresses and babysitters, I think it's a great thing. All right, it's just a tool. We're moving more digital, and it's just a matter of time before Elon Musk monetizes, Doge token in Twitter. Like, the guy that did PayPal is going to. Twitter's going to be like the WhatsApp of America. And I'm telling you, billions of dollars are going to flow through these tokens.
All right, listeners, we shall see. Let's get out to number 2 right now. ETH, another wild ride, 2171 as we kicked off the show. That puts it down nearly 500 handles, 481. We were 2652 on the show last week, blowing through that level of 2,500. I know a lot of people were not happy to see going in the wrong direction. We did get back up to it, that said. We got up to right around 2,500 on the news of the strategic reserve on Sunday before the worm started to turn and we continued selling off to where we are right now. I'm sure if I re-racked ETH again, we'd probably be even lower since the start of the show. So yeah, 2,500, a critical level in XRP, or excuse me, in ETH, and not maintaining it. ETH, one of the big losers so far of the year. If you go to our futures rundown show, we talk about ETH a lot and not in the right way, at least for the ETH bulls. Let's go out to the vol. As you might imagine, a little bit spicier this week than last week. Weekly vol, 60.5 in ETH. This week, 80. So up nearly 20 handles, 19.5 handles in the weekly vol. 30-day vol also looking spicy, 59 1/3 last week, 68 even coming into the start of the show today. And going out to Hodler land, 6-month vol, actually coming in a little bit, 64 1/4 last week, 63 1/4 this week. Going out to Skew land, and we could probably do the same analysis out here on the ETH Skew, if I can dig it up while I'm talking here, listeners. But over the last week, it's been an interesting ride. Let's go out to the weekly Skew first. We were almost a -6 on the show last week, about 5 1/4. Most of that is gone now, down to about -1 3/4 on the weekly Skew. So still bearish, but obviously coming in a wee bit. Let's see, how crazy did we get? We got as low as about, well, actually on Friday, the weekly Skew hit -12 1/3. So things got really dicey heading into the weekend. And actually by Sunday, we were still down, but down to about 8.6 or so. And then the Skew obviously popped on Sunday morning from about -7 all the way up to about almost +2. So you're talking almost a 9-point swing in the Skew. That was off the news. And of course, it has since come right back down. It was at the start of our show, -1 3/4. It is a -2 right now. So looking more bearish again, but not quite as bearish as it was over the weekend or indeed on our show last week. 30-day Skew looking -1 on the show last week, kind of flat right now, listeners. So not much going on there. And going out a full 6 months, we were looking bullish, +3.3 on the show last week. Giving up more than a point of that right now, +2.15. So folks, not feeling the love out there for Solana on the 6-month front. Mr. Bill, I know you've liked ETH in the past. Maybe you're starting to take a little bit of a cautious turn toward it as well in light of its recent performance. What are your thoughts on ETH and the fact that it's taking a drubbing this year, one of the worst performing assets year to date, sir?
I know. It's really a shame to see what's happened to Ethereum. Although trading at 2,227, between 2,200 and 25, I mean, that's still basically, 2021 prices. So it hasn't really gone anywhere, in my opinion. There's still like billions and billions and billions of dollars that are locked up in, smart contracts. I just don't see yet how the value proposition is going to completely disappear. Yes, I think Solana is going to eat it for lunch. Yes, I think SUI is going to be a great project platform out there. You know what, Mark? I really don't know. I mean, I think I still have to trust that Ethereum is still a thing until it falls quite a bit more. It's still it's still a new thing, right? I mean, it was trading $100 a token in 2020 during COVID. I mean, it's still maybe $120 a token, and it's done really well overall. Maybe not what we would like to see, but we're kind of here at 22.27, we're back to like September lows. So I don't know. Let's just wait it out. Like being short volatility, sometimes you just got to babysit these positions, and I just don't want to let things go too soon, because again, I think we are entering the banana zone of global liquidity, and we may see, in my opinion, potentially much higher prices by the fall of 2025, and then we rethink things, right? Then maybe we see potential recession or liquidity drying up. But for now, I don't think we're gonna. I think we're gonna be okay.
All right, listeners, let's keep rolling out to the name that Bill just said is going to eat ETH's lunch. He's not alone in that opinion. It's Solana, 152 double on the show last week, 146 and about a quarter when we kicked off the show. So down over 6 handles since our last show, about 6 and a quarter. In between them, we did a lot of living, hit 177, easy for me to say, 178 again over the weekend, listeners. So we were feeling the optimism out there in Solana. And then, of course, as with everything this weekend, that optimism faded back down to 146. So if you were saying, man, I'm angry that I missed adding a little more Solana sub 150 last week, and when it got up to 178 again, there you go. You got your chance again to be glass half full. Let's go out to XRP. You know what? XRP is just a strange beast. For all this noise, all this Sturm und Drang around XRP, it is net unched yet again. It was 245 on the show last week, 244. XRP, it just has this ability to get stuck, unlike any other asset I've ever seen. That said, it did do some moving, did do some living over the weekend. It had drifted down to about 2 and a quarter on Sunday, and then bam, the news broke. We've been talking about all show. XRP being added to that strategic reserve got up to nearly $3, $2.94, listeners, or exactly 50 cents north of where it is right now, and has now given it all back. Listen, in fact, as we're coming into the end of the show, it's down to about 239, so it's given up a little more. So if you thought this was it, this was the moonshot for XRP that all you bulls have been waiting for, alas, no, listeners. And then Bill's beloved Doge, 22.6 cents on the show last week, 20 and a quarter right now. So giving up a couple of cents out there as well. Let's see how high do we get in Doge land. We got up to a whopping 24 cents on the news. So Doge wasn't exactly feeling as much optimism as some of the rest that had some really stratospheric moves. Litecoin, 123.14 on the show last week. 111.19 today, so down almost exactly 12 points, about 11.95. Cardano, this was one that surprised a lot of people, that it was getting included in the old strategic reserve. 72 cents on the show last week, 88 cents right now. So it's still up about 16 cents. One of the few that's bucking the trend. That said, it's got as low as 65 cents on Sunday. Then it popped to, looks like about $1.08. So a 43-cent pop over that news before giving a good chunk of that back, but still up from where it was last week. Polkadot, 466 on the show last week, 459 today, so down a whopping 7 cents. And Bill's other size holding, Shiba Inu, a million zeros for 143 on the show last week. And this week, a million zeros 131. So continuing to give up the ghost. So unfortunately, once again, I'm sad to report no Shiba Lambos for all of you folks. Of course, let's look really quickly, just for fun, listeners. Let's look to see how wild things got over the weekend. That said, it wasn't being included in the strategic reserve, but still, we popped from about million zeros 135 on the show on Sunday, I should say. Got up to looks like about 15 over the weekend before million zeros 1514 to be precise, before giving it all back and then some. Mr. Bill, you always got a few altcoin burning a hole in your wallet, sir. What is burning a hole in your wallet right now?
Well, Mark, I got to be honest with you. As I said several episodes ago, that I have been focusing on those ISO 222, which is also part of this decentralized finance, and which kind of fits into what you and I are doing and have done most of our lives, is some kind of, rather than traditional finance, decentralized finance. And I have this text messaging app that is FINRA approved for our clients, and I just started a service giving suggestions on the things that I can't do inside of a registered investment advisory firm, and that is I already advise clients on their Coinbase holdings, and so I put out a buy because my clients they're just nibbling, and they're just starting out. They're still really not believers like you and I are, or the other people on your channel that have raised their hand on the Bitcoin being in a strategic reserve. But I put out a little buy signal on Solana, and I was hot for about 4 hours. I mean, I was up like 25% by the time I woke up. But needless to say, most of that gain has been given back since the dust has settled. But, I think Solana is going to be, it can do millions of transactions per second. It's one of the fastest networks that are out there. And it's not a crazy token, but I think it's part of like a core holding that everybody should own a little bit of, and including the Bitcoin and Ethereum, XRP, and Solana. And until further notice, I think we have to go with, like the top 10 or the ones that are making the news. As much as I hate to admit it, as much as I don't want to say I'm appalled, but I get nervous when I see too many people pounding the table for the XRP army, XRP. Like the more people say it, the more I want to move away from it. And that's a negative thing about my personality, is I tend to swing away from, too much consensus. So Solana, XRP, I'm just going to stick with some oldies but goodies. And maybe next month, if I'm lucky to be on the show, I'll pull up something completely unheard of for your listeners.
I must admit, I did a little bit of adding to my Solana holdings when it dipped below 150 last week as well. So yeah, it's an interesting area out here. So you're not alone, Mr. Bill, in liking a little bit of adding Solana. Have you been adding? I know our chat has been talking about quote unquote nibbling at Solana again at these levels. So have you been nibbling, listeners? Speaking of you folks, let's get out to now some of your crypto questions.
You've got questions about crypto. Who doesn't? It's time to find out the answers to your crypto questions.
All right, folks, let's check in on our live poll that's going right now. And Mr. Bill, as we're winding down the show here, 58.3% of our audience say we don't need a strategic crypto reserve, 41.7% saying yes, sir. What are your final thoughts on that poll?
Oh, I'm a little disappointed. I'm not going to lie to you. Because listen, when was the last time Fort Knox and our gold holdings were audited? I mean, we're potentially in the midst of it right now. And what better way to keep track of our ownership of gold for our country, the wealth of our nation, than to tokenize it on a blockchain of some kind, and to have that in a strategic reserve sovereign wealth fund? I am 100% in favor of that, because goodness gracious, how do we not know where billions and billions and billions of dollars of gold are? I mean, where is it? Is it the LDMA? Is it the COMEX? Is it lent out in some cavern somewhere? What about GLD? Like these other ETFs? How do we know that they're really holding the gold that we think, they have? And so tokenization of these real world assets, I think, is going to be a thing. I think it's a thing going forward. And Bitcoin and gold and XRP and real estate and oil revenues and royalties and everything else you can possibly imagine. Think of the United States as one big, massive hedge fund. That's where I think we're going. It's the only way to combat our 34 trillion debt issue is to recapitalize and remonetize our nation. And I don't think we're as broke as everybody thinks we are. And I think, listen, I'm just taking little pieces of other people's opinion, but we're working on the expense side with Elon Musk and Doge. We're going to work on the asset side, potentially with tariffs and the trade negotiations. And I think we're also going to work on the asset balance sheet side by monetizing every asset the United States owns. And I'm incredibly excited, and I don't know if I'm right or the people I listen to are right, but they sure are interesting theories, and it sure makes sense to me.
Well, Mr. Bill, I do want to get your thoughts on this. Our crypto question of the week last week, the results kind of surprised me. We were in the middle of a little bit of a sell-off then, as you'll recall, and not that dissimilar from now. And we said if you had to buy and hold one crypto asset for the rest of 2025, gun to your head, which one are you choosing? We gave them 3 choices and the infamous other: Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, and then other. We had write-ins for Doge. We had write-ins for Monero, a bunch of other things out there that were kind of interesting. But the other only got 7.4%, Mr. Bill. 67.9%, so over 2/3 of the audience chose the big dog, which is Bitcoin. I have to admit, that kind of surprised me. And then number 2, we had Solana, 13.6%. And then bringing up the rear outside of other was ETH, only 11.1%. So, Mr. Bill, seems like in times of turbulence, our audience is going to the big dog, which is Bitcoin. Does that surprise you as it did me, sir?
Yeah, actually it does, because, even the wildest upside projections for Bitcoin by everybody that you follow on crypto Twitter, if we get a doubling, we would be heroes, like up to 160 to 200 maybe at the end of the year. But Solana's projected, in a best case scenario, complete banana zone, that could be between 300 and 700 per token. So I think the upside is actually in percentage terms going to be with the lower price token. So let's see how it goes. We'll have to have a contest, right? Like your VIX contest. See where Bitcoin and Solana, XRP, Doge, Toncoin, and all the other meme coins like Unicorn Fart Dust and Fartcoin and all these things, where they are in 1231, and just see maybe somebody can win some swag from the Options Insider.
All right, that music means we have come to the end of another epic sojourn through the world of all things crypto. What a wild ride it has been. Give us your own thoughts on this wild 48 hours, let alone the wild week that has been out here in crypto. And of course, make sure you vote on our question of the week. Do we need a strategic crypto reserve at the end of the day? Obviously, a contentious issue. You folks are already voting right now as well on where you think VIX will close at the end of March. Do you think this vol we're seeing out there right now, which, by the way, vol popping, S&P off 2% right now, VIX 23 1/3. So, yeah, we're seeing things get spicy. We're asking you, where do you think VIX will close at the end of March? Below 20, above 20, or it's too spicy, I'm going to cash. 56.3% of you right now say, hey, I think it's going to be below 20 by the end of the month. Today's action denying that, but again, we got a long way to go till the end of March. Make sure you get your votes in there right now. Mr. Bill, if folks want to reach out to you to debate any of these topics, or maybe they need a little bit of hand-holding on the wealth management front, where should they go? What should they do?
Sure. Reach out to us at cenaclecapital.com, CENACLE capital.com. We just completely redid our website, so give us feel free to introduce yourself, say hi, and send us a message through the website, and we'd be happy to have any of your listeners on board. Again, the signals that we're sending out via the messaging app we're not selling those. Those are for clients that we're managing assets for. So, yeah, let's have a conversation and see if we can bring crypto into your retirement plans.
There you go. Check them out, listeners, at all those places. You can always give them a follow at Cenacle Capital, CENACLE Capital, all one word, on Twitter /X as well. And while you're checking things out, make sure you check out our friends over there at Amber Data, amberdata.io, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. Again, graphical interface, completely free for all of you folks out there right now. So you have no excuse not to at least dip your toes into all this data we're talking about here and a whole bunch more. Amberdata.io, the place to go to begin your journey to the dark side. That's going to do it for us on the network today. Back again tomorrow exclusively for the pro folks. We'll be rolling out the pro Q&A hot seat. Our good buddy, Mr. Scott Nations, will be joining us there. So make sure you get your questions in now. That's always a popular one when he joins us. The place to go to participate in all that fun, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Back again on Wednesday for a triple header, double header of Options Bootcamp, and then, of course, the Futures Rundown, which I got a feeling ETH's going to make it on that list and not perhaps in the best light. Oh, by the way, Mr. Bill, before we go, since we're talking about the Futures Rundown, really quickly, news coming out of CME. They are launching a Solana future in the next couple of weeks. Are you excited, sir?
Yes. I'm excited for all things crypto, Mark, as you are. And I think that's really exciting. And once again, this industry, this asset class is rolling out. We are watching history in the making, Mark, and it's exciting. I'm thrilled.
There you go, listeners. Solana future coming. Will that lead the way to a Solana ETF? I guess we shall have to wait and see. Back again on Thursday for another doubleheader, of course, of the option block and This Week in Futures Options, another program where we do touch on crypto quite a bit. Friday, of course, Vol Views, and we're back again one more time for our pro friends with a whole bunch of options oddities. Man, it's been wild already. Matt already writing to me, telling me he's been closing out some of the trades we talked about on Friday on oddities. So make sure you're checking that out. If you're not, you're missing out. theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Then we're off again for another wild weekend until we're back again on Monday, another episode of the Crypto Rundown. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.